I'm William Kumwembe with Business Time. It is a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country, courtesy of Old Mutual.
Insuring and saving with Old Mutual means growing crops, growing jobs, growing a future. Creating mutual futures, your money invested for the good of all.
Coming up in the program today, we weigh in on last week's decision by the Monetary Policy Committee of the Reserve Bank of Malawi to hike the policy rate to 24%. What does it mean to consumers and the economy at large? And also in the program, Malawi Stock Exchange pushes SMEs to use their local boss for securing cheap capital. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome. This is Business Time. Last week, the Reserve Bank of Malawi adjusted upwards the policy rate, the rate at which commercial banks use when borrowing from the central bank as lender of last resort, by 2 percentage points to 24%. Already, the move has more repercussions and more pressure on borrowers, as there are some fears that it will affect the local economy, which remained volatile for a greater part of the year. As a key driver of interest rates, the loans, the decision will have a ripple effect on commercial banks, which will likely implement a reciprocal adjustments to the price of loans. Practically, the decision means that the RBM is trying to reduce money supply in the economy by, among other things, increasing the cost of borrowing. But are the two forces balancing? I engage Bechan Cheleni, a Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences-based economist. Firstly, Prof, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Just last week, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Reserve Bank of Malawi adjusted the policy rate, the rate at which commercial banks use when borrowing from the central bank as lender of last resort, by about 400 basis points to 24%. This is the second time within a space of 12 months.
Yes.
Would I be fair to scream the headline, tough times ahead?
No, you would be very, very unfair. In fact, you would not have been an analyst. Because when you sit back and try to ask the question why, that question is very important. These are people who are also Malawians. They also have got interest in Malawi, and they raise interest rates in that manner. The question would be, why are they doing it like that? Because the cost of inaction would be far much more bigger than the cost of acting in this way. Look, inflation has been flying through the window. In fact, in this quarter, for example, it rose to somewhere above 28%, and that's headline inflation. And what surprised us, and this is, I think, something that many people would not have actually sat down to consider it with some depth. You know, after the last quarter two, the Monetary Policy Committee sat down and they raised the interest rates by about, I think it was 200 basis points or something. And then it must have been by, I think that time it was 400 basis points. It is this time around that it has gone up by 200 basis points. Yeah. So when we did that, you know, some things have been noted. Number one is that we have seen that the non-food inflation has gone down to around 17%, down from above 30%. But food inflation remains to be high. So that tells you that the monetary policy action is working, especially on the non-food inflation, in curbing some of the imports that come with that. So if there are two angles here. There is the monetary policy, and then there's the fiscal policy, right? These two policies, they actually interact in one way or another, but they actually work together. You cannot sit back and say that the fiscal side is not doing anything, and therefore monetary policy should also not do anything. That is going to be much more detrimental. It happened in some country, I will not mention the name, that the populist type of decision making took the economy to levels that were very, very imaginable. Every time the central bank in that country wanted to raise interest rates so that inflation could be curbed, there would be an outcry. That outcry led to the central bank working on a populist, idea. At the end of the day, the fiscal side was on the rampage borrowing. The same thing was happening with the monetary policy. They they are inactive. At the end of the day, inflation went far much up than what would have been expected. And so we cannot sit back and just look at the situation. You really have to say, let's do something about it. Let me remind people that the mandate of the Reserve Bank, really, it's price stabilization. That's the actual mandate. Price stabilization. If inflation is going to soar to 60%, for example, what is going to happen here in the country? You can't expect any investment. You can't expect anything. But over and above that, we need to unlock some resources somewhere. And the key to that unlocking is actually with making sure that we are satisfying the requirements for us to get the IMF package, that program. It's not for that program that we want the IMF to come in with that package. No, it's not necessarily for that program. It's the IMF is the big brother of lenders, is the big brother of those people who have money. So they are the gatekeeper, in other words. So when the IMF says no, we can't go to give these people any resource, nobody comes in because they've got people looking up to the IMF.
The Malawi Stock Exchange has embarked on a project which aims at hand-holding small and medium entrepreneurs in the country to access capital on the local post. The project, called Mzinga Incubation Project, will, among other things, connect local SMEs to necessary mentorship that will see them also get ready for accessing capital. The move comes as access to capital remains a major constraint for most SMEs who are facing so many other challenges. Now, Malawi Stock Exchange Chief Executive Officer John Kamanga says the initiative offers a competitive platform for the SMEs in accessing capital. Justin Kweu has the whole story in this report.
The Malawi Stock Exchange was established in 1996, but since then, only 6 companies are listed on the market. This is what has moved the government through the Reserve Bank of Malawi's Financial Inclusion and Entrepreneurship Scaling Finesse project to entice small and medium enterprises to list on the market. The campaign will be achieved through the Mzinga Incubation Program, and Malawi Stock Exchange Chief Executive Officer John Kamanga explains more about it.
The Mzinga project has come about. Basically, we're trying to address the challenges the small and medium enterprise face in terms of accessing long-term finance and in particular accessing the capital market through the Malawi Stock Exchange. One has been the challenge of actually the SME accessing the capital market is basically knowledge in terms of how actually they can access the market, as well as in terms of the organizational structure in terms of meeting our listings requirements, i.e. in terms of governance, in terms of financial reporting, business management, as well as actually all other aspects which goes with the entrepreneurship. Having identified that need, we found that at least we needed to support, handhold the SMEs such that at least they can get listed. And one of the issues which we are going to look at, one in terms of now training these SMEs in terms of business management, also in terms of corporate governance, in terms of reporting. So the fees which they ought to have paid to these specialists, it will be paid through this project, which means that an SME who is going to be identified, instead of paying a corporate governance expert, the corporate governance expert will be paid through these fees. In terms of the reporting accounting, the fees will be paid through this project. In terms of business management, the fees will be paid through this project. So in so doing, you find that the cost to the SME in terms of being them ready to access the capital market has been reduced, because these are some of the costs which the small and medium enterprise actually have been complaining about, has been the challenge. And we have also reduced in terms of actually the transactional cost, in terms of the listings, the expenses which they can meet as they come to the Malawi Stock Exchange through the Ajax platform.
Ralph Seka is project manager for the Finesse project, and he explains the rationale behind the project.
The Finesse project is coming in terms of financing the initiative. You will recall that we said that because of lack of access to finance, especially for the small and medium enterprises, the government of Malawi decided through the World Bank to make available the finance to SMEs. This SMEs, this financing is actually at a cheaper cost, and that's what the project is actually doing. We have actually done that through what we call the participating financial institutions, who in turn have lended that money to the SMEs. For the Mzinga project, what we've actually done is that it is one of our components to support this initiative. So our role here is actually on the financing this initiative of Mzinga, so that we handhold the SMEs in trying to get the cheaper finances through the stock exchange. No, the whole project is $86 million, and as I said, it has got 4 components. So all the biggest component is on the line of credit. The line of credit out of the 86 is taking close to $60 million. So you can see that's a bigger component.
William Matambo is Deputy Reserve Bank of Malawi Governor and explains the central bank's excitement at the project.
The Mzinga incubation program is something that has been derived as one way of promoting the capital market development in the country. Essentially, you've asked where does RBM fit? You know, our mandate is price and financial stability. And through that process, we need that monetary policy transmission should be efficient and effective. And that can only happen when the money market and capital market are working efficiently. So over a long time, the capital market in the country has not grown as significantly as we would have loved to. And in that regard, in 2021, we came up with a strategic plan that is running for 5 years, from 2021 to 2025. And one of the key areas that we have highlighted in that particular document is promotion of the SME sector, so that they can also have access to long-term financing and patient capital that can help them grow businesses and also get registered on the stock exchange to access that type of funding.
In the 16 counters that Malawi Stock Exchange has, none comes from the SME sector.
This is Business Time, a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country, and brought to you by Old Mutual.
Ku Malawi timanena kuti chuma chili munthaka. Ndipo izi ndizoona. Mutha kuziona zimene zipali ponse. Dzina langa ndi Chris Gadimani, ndipo ndimayang'anira banja langa pogwira ntchito ku Galamax Macadamia Nut Farm. Zonse zimayambira pa Nazale pano. Timasamalira mphukira kuti tikwanitse kudzala mitengo yambiri. Mitengo iyi ikakula, timasankhamo mtedza wabwino kwambiri okhaokha. Timafuna kuti mtedza wa Macadamia wa ku Malawi uzidziwika kuti ndi wabwino koposa. Chilichonse pa famu pano chimagwira ntchito kuti zinthu ziziyenda bwino. Mitengo yathu imayeretsa mpweya. Njuchi zathu zimathandiza mitengo kubereka zipatso. Amayi amundera amakolola uchi m'ming'oma. Ndipo ndalama zina zimathandiza sukulu ya pafamu pano. Timaphunzitsa ana zonse zokhudza mtedza wa Macadamia. Tikakolola kwambiri timalembanso ntchito anthu ambiri. Ndimakhala onyadira kukhala nawo otenga mbali mu zimenezi.
From the soil comes endless possibilities. Growing crops, growing jobs, growing Malawi. Your money invested for the good of all. We call this creating mutual futures. Old Mutual. Let's do great things every day.
Welcome back, and moving on with the program. Malawi Stock Exchange listed conglomerate Press Corporation Limited PLC says it has intensified effort and investment towards expanding and investing into business portfolio through mergers and acquisitions. PCL PLC board chairperson Radson Madiwa said this on Friday at the group's annual general meeting held in Blantyre. This comes as the company posted a 19% drop in post-tax profit in the year ended December 31st, 2022 to about 36.3 billion kwacha from 45.1 billion kwacha in the preceding year. Apart from volatility of the local economy during the year under review, the group saw subdued performance in some of its subsidiaries, including the telecommunications segment, where both TNM and MTL reported losses. Mwadiwa explains what the future holds.
We have not done as much as we wanted to because a number of our companies have not performed very well in the past year. But I think overall we are able to give our shareholders a reasonable dividend, actually slightly higher than last year. So I think at the end of the day, we are looking at how much dividend are we giving to our shareholders, and that I think I'm satisfied as chair. Like I said, a few of our companies didn't perform very well. You know that the TNM didn't perform very well, and it's one of our blue chip investments. We also had losses in the fishing, on the foods company, and also MTL. But like I said, generally we are on the right foot, and we are happy that we are able to give to our shareholders a dividend that is good. Beyond that, we have also grown the value of the shares of our shareholders. You recall that about 2-3 months ago, our shares were at I think 2.1 thousand kwacha. Now they've moved to 2,500. We are the highest in terms of share prices on the market right now. I think there are quite a number of factors. For the TNM, perhaps the issue is that we're focusing on the wrong things. For us to grow that company, we needed to look at the niche market. I think that's what we want to do to grow our market share. I think right now we are between 30 and 40, and Airtel is at 61. So we needed to find ways of attracting more customers, bring in some products that will be. So you have seen recently that we now gone 5G, and we believe that will be attracting customers, more customers. And by the close of the year, we believe that we would have gotten a few more customers to grow our company.
Now, one of the players in the real estate sector, Icon Properties, has revealed plans to invest $31 million, which is about 33.1 billion kwacha, to construct a 7-story office complex in Lilongwe in the medium term. This came out during the company's stakeholder engagement meeting in Blantyre. Kumwembe was there and has filed this report.
Icon Properties Chief Executive Officer Ellen Nyasulu says the company is working on 2-tier projects, which are a parking management system at the Chichiri Shopping Mall and participation in a 4-star hotel project at the Lilongwe Golf Club, where it has already invested 8.5 billion kwacha. She says the business has taken off on a good note, despite challenges facing the economy.
The business has taken off on a good note, despite the challenges that every business has gone through. We have seen that maybe the bottom line is the share price is increasing. That shows confidence of the market into what the business can produce. But that confidence is coming from, we are seeing that our rental growth is also going up well. It is recovering. We are also seeing that the fair value, meaning the capital growth of the investments, is also going on well. We are experiencing vacancies, but those vacancies are below what the market averages are. So as I'm talking now, Icon Properties are late at 96% because that's the source of income. But at the same time, you are also looking at some properties have been refurbished to the extent that they are deriving income more than about 150 to 200% of what they should have been getting if they were not maintained or refurbished. So the business is going well. So ICON, as an infrastructure investment company, it is looking at benefiting from the 4.7 trillion infrastructure needs in the country over the next 30 years from a problem-solving perspective. So what ICON will be looking at is to say, what is it that is most needed by the country, which will contribute to catalyze the economic activity of the country, but that something should be something that also gives the best return for the shareholders. So in terms of the quantum, we may not say how much, but what we are saying is on a case-by-case basis, we will be looking to take a view of what we call a balanced approach. What benefits the country, what benefits the shareholder. But at the end of the day, still take a stake to contribute to investing in that 4.7 trillion kwacha. So at the moment, we are working on, I could say, two-tier part of projects. First is to get the most out of the existing assets. So there is a parking management system that is coming up at Chichiri Shopping Center. Then there are big ticket projects that we are investing in. ICON is investing in partnership with other shareholders in the hotel, 4-star hotel project in Lilongwe. It is at the moment going towards the end of its first phase of construction. And secondly, it is also planning a 6-7-story office building in Lilongwe, and that one is at the planning stage.
One of the minority shareholders in the company, Emmanuel Chirunda, says he is impressed with the firm's performance.
The company is performing very well, looking at their financials, and of course looking at also, the share price at the market. So the company basically is performing very well. Always the company has to be, forward-looking, and of course because these are shareholders, they are looking for, the value of their investment to grow. And that's why they're actually trying to talk to management to make sure that they have to be proactive in terms of looking at the opportunities which exist in the market and not maybe just looking at the immediate. They should also look at the future and how they can grow the company further. There are two aspects to, shareholders. Some focus on dividend and some focus on capital appreciation. So some people would want their, investment to grow without really focusing too much on dividend. But other people, they focus also on dividend. So I think the argument which are being advanced is that maybe they should also look at the dividend vis-a-vis the depreciation of the kwacha. So basically that was the line of argument. But all in all, there's a dividend policy which the company follows, and basically they actually move using that instrument. Simply put, they should partner with the Malawi Investment and Trade Center and move forward.
ICON Properties was listed on the Malawi Stock Exchange in January 2019.
Well, that report also brings us to the end of today's edition of the program Business Time, a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country, courtesy of Odd Mutual. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is William Kumwembe. But always remember, if it doesn't make money, then it doesn't make sense. Stay safe and bye for now.
Brought to you by Old Mutual. Creating mutual futures, your money invested for the good of all.